Round 6 coverage of Grand Prix Las Vegas. I'm Brendan David Marshall, joined in the booth by Paul Cheon, and we are watching Brendan Winkleman there on your left. He is 5-0, playing against Pro Tour champion Wyatt Darby. Wyatt Darby, he's platinum. He's going to be going to the World Championship. He's got Facebook groups named after him.
Just one tournament. What if he wins a second one?
I mean, he's off to a great start here. 5-0, and it looks like he's playing humans.
Yeah, it's battle of the tribal decks here. We have humans going up against elves, and this is really interesting because
now, based on my fantasy rating that I've done, this favors elves heavily. How does that work out on at the table?
Yeah, I would say that elves is favored here because the elf deck is just able to put a lot more permanents onto the board much quicker. If Wyatt gets some pretty good names with the meddling mage, maybe he can shut some stuff down. I could see him, for example, naming something like Collected Company here. But the thing is, the humans deck doesn't really have a lot of removal, right? It's got Reflector Mage, sure, which is going to bounce kind of a cheap card. But again, Brendan could just litter the board with a bunch of threats. And look, he's already started with that Heritage Druid, and he's got 3 mana on turn 2 available here.
Wow, and he's going to tap it all to play a Dwynen's Elite.
Right.
I can tell you the card named with Meddling Mage is Elvish Archdruid.
Okay, and Brendan still has access to 1 mana, so if he has another 1 mana creature, he can play another 3-drop if he had one.
This deck just looks so explosive. Now, we've seen a couple of different versions of this deck. Is this the 25th anniversary version, or is this the green-black version?
No,
but looking at the lands, it looks like it's the green-black version.
It looks like it's a more traditional. And look, this is turn 2.
So now that brings him up. That gives him another 3 mana if he wanted. If he had something to play for 3, he could have done that there.
Yeah. So he named the Elvish Archdruid, so now he's got access to 8 mana here. He needs just any number of Collected Company, Court of Calling, even in Azuri, and he's gonna have just way too much pressure for Wyatt to actually keep up with here.
Another Meddling Mage in hand for Wyatt Darby.
Yeah.
What would you name here at this point? Would you name Collected Company, or would you just play a Mantis Rider and attack for 3?
I think maybe you're just at this point just playing the Mantis Rider, hoping the race, and then just hoping that Brendan just doesn't have that next payoff card. Because if Brendan
he didn't have something to do with 3 mana there at the end of the turn.
So if he had an Azuri, he would have played it last turn.
Right.
So he definitely doesn't have that, but he could have something like a Court of Calling or Collected Company. It looks like a Collected Company.
Yep. A foily Collected Company. Going to look at the top 6 cards.
Yeah, so many great options. Again, Meddling Mage naming Elvish Archdruid, but that's not going to stop Brendan from putting those into play off the Collected Company if he finds some here. There's one.
And there's the
Azuri. Oh my goodness. I just want to make sure people understand what turn this is. This is turn 3. Look at the board. Look at Brendan's side of the board. The most interaction that Wyatt can play. He can play Reflector Mage maybe. But what's he going to bounce?
Wow. Turn 3, and Brendan, looking for more action, sacks Horizon Canopy on turn 3.
Yeah. He had so much mana that he could actually sack Horizon Canopy and also play Collected Company. And next turn, he's basically, I would assume he has
can overrun here.
Right. He has something close to a lethal attack here, especially if Wyatt Darby doesn't have a Reflector Mage for that Elvish Archdruid, because there's currently 8 elves on the battlefield. That Elvish Archdruid taps for 8 by itself.
Wow.
To go with the 2 lands that are on the battlefield, that's basically 2 overrun effects that the Azuri has, which is going to do roughly, running the numbers here, very, 1 million damage. I'm going to go with.
That's my math checks out.
More or less, plus or minus.
Oh,
why not? Why not?
No. This is just crazy. There's a Dwynen's Elite. Well, now it makes 10 mana.
Look, Wyatt didn't concede in the finals of that Pro Tour when it looked like he was behind. He's got an Ancient Ziggurat. He can't even play anything, but he's still like, all right, just show me.
Wow. He can just activate Azuri twice off the Elvish Archdruid.
Right. That's 10 mana by itself. That's 2 overrun effects, and this is just, oh my. This is like double kill.
Can he save some of this? Yeah. Everything comes in.
Okay.
Wow. Brendan Winkleman and Paul did the math for us. Attacks for 1 million there.
That's right, yeah.
On turn 4.
More or less. Yeah. On turn 4. That was completely insane.
Wow, a real demonstration of the power of the elf deck, just the explosiveness of it, and the ability to close things out. Because a lot of times you'll see decks that can, just dump a lot of stuff onto the board, but don't have this great finishing power.
Right.
That deck had two different cards that just in the Archdruid and the Azuri that both really pack a punch.
Yeah, super explosive draw here, and he's going with. Yeah, he did choose to go with the black here to play Shaman of the Pack to give his deck a little more reach, and as you saw, I mean, his deck just completely crushed it. And one interesting note about
again, he hit two different cards off that collected company. If he hit two Shamans of the Pack off that collected company, that would have also been all but lethal instead of being Azuri and Elvish Archdruid.
Yeah, he's got a ton of great hits there. And then if you look here, most decks, they play, of course, the 4 collected companies, and then you kind of choose a lot of the time between Court of Calling and Lead the Stampede. And Brennan's actually figured out a way to squeeze both of them into his deck. He's got 4 Courts, 2 Lead the Stampedes. He's got a little spice here, too. He's got 1 Nissa Vital Force, which I'd never have seen in Modern, really.
Wow, no, I don't think I've seen it either.
And we got a Dominaria card here.
Oh, yeah.
1 Marwyn the Nurturer. And if you don't know what Marwyn the Nurturer does, it's a 2 and a green for a 1/1 legendary creature. It taps for a green mana equal to its power. Now, whenever you play an elf, you can put a +1/+1 counter on Marwyn. So it kind of effectively acts as like Elvish Archdruid number 5, kind of.
It's just like Elvish Druid. It's just not Arch.
There's no Arch.
Yeah.
There's no Arch. Yeah. Still good, though. Still good, especially in this matchup. Now, Wyatt, again, game 1, not a lot of good stuff. He's got I think overall just the matchup isn't great. But, after sideboard, he does get a little more interaction here. I think the most important card here being the 2 Izzet Static Casters.
That was exactly what I was looking at. I was like, where's our Telestrator so we can just circle Izzet Static Caster?
Yeah.
That card's huge.
Yeah, that is definitely big. Of course, if Brendan still gets a fast start where he somehow gets an Archdruid on the battlefield, then that would stop the Static Caster. But he's also got a Gut Shot and a Dismember, so I think he wants to bring in all of that interaction. And, there's plenty of cards he can look to take out here.
Now, let me ask you about a card like Aether Vial. Is that card fast enough for this matchup?
I think the only time where you really board out Aether Vial, I don't even know if it's correct to ever board out Aether Vial, but the only time where you would maybe consider it is in a really grindy matchup where, like, let's say you're playing against Jund, and it all just comes down to making sure you play enough threats, and Aether Vial in the late game is a bad draw. That's where I can see you maybe doing it, but even then, it's like the way you beat Jund is by having those really explosive early turns. So I think it's just one of the most important cards for the deck.
One of the cards you see in Wyatt's deck is gives him a little similar kind of ability to finish things off, which is a Kessig Malcontents.
Yeah, now that is the type of card I could see him boarding out in this matchup because he's boarding in a couple of 3s, and he does want to keep his disruption. Now you would normally think Kitesail Freebooter, I'm playing against a creature deck, maybe this isn't great, but some of the most important payoff cards in Brennan's deck are those Court of Callings, those collected companies, and the Lead the Stampedes. So I imagine he's likely going to keep that in. And same thing with the Meddling Mage. It's like, I'm going to miss a lot of the time, but I'm still probably just want to make sure I have that in play to name collected company cards like that.
All right. Well, Brennan and Wyatt are both taking a mulligan here. Neither player happy with their opening 7.
And I've been pretty impressed with the humans deck. It's actually fairly good at mulliganing. So oftentimes again, if you have the 1 land Aether Vial hand.
Yeah, I was just saying it doesn't require a lot of operating capital.
Right, exactly, and also it doesn't need a lot of lands to operate. And you have those Horizon Canopies too. That also just gives you some flood protection, and it only plays 19 lands.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
I played draft decks with more than that. We're going to see draft decks with more land than that this weekend.
We definitely are.
The beta draft, which is going to take place on Sunday,
right?
You'll probably see some decks with 20 lands.
Yeah, you're going to see that because, of course, a lot of those booster packs are going to have more than one basic, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
that was one of the primary means of distributing basic lands early on.
Right.
You could buy a starter deck or tournament pack that had, that had a lot of lands in it, but you would get, 3, sometimes 4 lands in a booster pack back in the early days of the game because you needed that land to play, and that was a lot of times the only way you found cards was in booster packs.
Yeah, I actually assumed when you bought booster packs there was a bunch of lands in them because, I learned about Magic and I convinced my parents to buy me some booster packs for my birthday. So I bought I think 6 Mirage boosters, and then I went home, opened them, and then I was like, where are the lands? And then I realized I just couldn't build my deck because I didn't have any lands. So I had to actually go back to this. I had to beg my parents to go back to the store so I could buy basic lands to actually play.
All right, we're off and running here in Game 2. Wyatt Darby has a Noble Hierarch in the play, and Nettle Sentinel comes down for Brendan Winkleman.
Ooh, and this is a nice start for Wyatt. I think that's a turn 2 Mantis Rider getting in for 4.
Yeah, he gets to fly over 4.
So this
Vigilance and haste.
Yeah, so Brendan needs an equally explosive draw here. And what is that, a Westphal Abbey? I think so.
Yeah, it is, and he's getting a little closer there. There's the Dwinnens Elite and the Nettle Sentinel.
Yeah, but he can't attack, and he doesn't have a Heritage Druid, so he's not really doing a whole lot here. Really needs an Elvish Archer next turn to actually be able to attack with both of his 2/2 elves. Yeah, but this is a very slow start. I think the way you kind of want your elf decks to function, it's like you mulligan a lot. I mean, granted, Brendan's already mulliganed, but you really want to make sure you have those mana creatures in the early phases of the game. We even talked to Eduardo Sajgalik, who's like, I wasn't sure if the 9th or 10th mana creature was correct. That's how important those 1 mana creatures are.
Wyatt Darby takes a look at Brendan Winkleman's hand with Kitesail Freebooter, and it's a non-creature, non-land card, so Brendan saves him the trouble and just puts the Court of Calling under it.
Right, and Wyatt...
But Phantasmal Image comes down as a second copy of Mantis Rider. So that's 6, and that drops Brendan to 8. Yeah. Now, these guys are not fooling around in this match.
Right, and Brendan's got that Horizon Canopy on the battlefield, so if he uses it to cast a spell, he's going to go down to 7. That's lethal. Wyatt's got 2 Mantis Riders and that Kitesail Freebooter, so...
Yeah. He has to use it to draw a card, and I think... Is that going to be game?
No, he can play... I think he has a Llanowar Elf, or he's got a Nettle Sentinel in hand, so he's not... just dead here. Oh, nope. He is just dead.
He's just dead. Mantis Rider, attack for 10. And
these are some fast games.
Yeah, blazing fast.
Yeah.
We saw a couple Humans games last round that just ground on and on and on. Whoever had the most dice seemed to win.
Right. Yeah. The key in the mirror is just whoever gets more Thales, Lieutenants, and Champions of the Parishes going. This one, it's more just like who can get off to a more explosive start. It's almost like you're goldfishing. There's very little interaction between both decks. Wyatt's got interaction in terms of like the Kitesail Freebooter, but he doesn't have a lot of removal.
Right.
So it's really hard for him to get rid of the Archrid or the Azuri if that enters the battlefield. But I think I still, going to Game 3, I still have to kind of favor Brendan's side here. He's gonna be on the play, and it's just there's a lot of redundancy. He has 12 mana creatures in his deck on turn 1. He's got the Elvish Mystics, he's got the Llanowar Elves, and he's got the Heritage Druid. And Wyatt really doesn't have a lot of ways to answer those cards.
Boy, Heritage Druid. Every time we've watched this deck, that has been the card that just you just dump your hand out.
Right. Yeah. It leads to just these ridiculous turns where you can just play out absolutely everything, and the only cheap interaction that Wyatt has to interact with that is the 1 gut shot that he has in his sideboard.
And then, possibly is it Staticaster, which he can get into play on turn 2.
But if you can get the Staticaster on turn 2 with Noble Hierarch, but just on average, it's going to be pretty difficult for him to be able to stop Heritage Druid from Brendan just like playing out his whole hand. So I think that's probably one of the more important cards for Brendan to have in the opener.
What kind of conversation do you think those guys are having? So Brendan's like, so you want a Pro Tour, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah. I'm going to bash you with my elf decks, though. I'm not afraid of you. I'm not part of your fan club.
See if I can give you a little detail about Brendan here. So he's from New Mexico. He works in a bank and just bought a building. That's all I know.
Just bought a building. Oh, just casually buying buildings.
Wyatt Darby, how his life has changed since winning the Pro Tour is he's earned the title of generic brand Michael Majors from his friends.
I mean, being Michael Majors isn't the worst, but generic brand, that's how does he need to upgrade? He's already won the Pro Tour,
I guess maybe a couple of top 16s would
get
him back into Mike
platinum,
Majors.
Yeah. It's gonna be the average time spent for this guy. Let's go with 4 minutes maybe. Yeah.
Much more time spent shuffling and drawing up second hands than actually playing these games.
Ooh, okay, looks like Brennan is happy with his hand, I think.
Yeah, Wyatt seems like he might still be in the tank here.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's so important to not fall behind. Wyatt might be in one of those situations where, like, God, if I don't have a one drop, do I mulligan, right? It could be one of those situations. It's like, if you don't, okay.
They're keeping. So it's just an elf there for Brennan. And
That's a one drop.
Noble Hierarch, big part of the equation for Wyatt Darby. Yeah. Can he find an Izzet Static Caster?
Ooh, that would be big.
But Elvish Archdruid on turn 2 from Brendan Winkleman. That's going to make things tough.
So, yeah, Wyatt really needs a Reflector Mage here.
He does have one in hand.
Oh, he does. Okay,
he does.
That is big.
He does have one in hand. I saw it. There was one of the cards he kept, but he might not have.
Oh, he doesn't have a land. Oh, yeah. This is going to be a brutal turn.
And that's what he was agonizing over.
Right.
You see the Aether Vial. You see the Champion of the Parish. You see the die on top of the deck to remind him.
Yeah, now Brennan's very likely to just deploy, at least half of his hand. Oh, the Dwinnen's Elite. That's just a free spell. Spend 2 mana, but you get it back with that Archdruid. So now Brendan has up to 5 mana this turn with the Llanowar Elf combined with the Elvish Archdruid.
Wow. And he has
6
the
mana.
land.
Ooh, and he passes.
So
Oh.
this has got to either be Cord or
Collected
Company.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think Wyatt. Yeah, Wyatt's in a world of trouble here.
Oh no! Looks like he's holding it. Is that a Dismember?
And even you have to think too. He also chose not to attack with the Llanowar Elf, despite having access to all this mana. So he's got probably a couple of nice options here. He can also sack that Horizon Canopy too.
Here we go.
He's like, no, I don't know about this one.
All right, Champion of the Parish attacks. It's a 2/2 thanks to Noble Hierarch.
So this can get potentially as big as a 3/3, right? So now this is kind of offering the trade. But if Brendan cords for another Archdruid, oh no. Oh, wait.
Oh, and Dismember is going to take down the Elvish Archdruid.
Yeah, but now we're going to see a big spell being cast here, probably. Oh, and there's the Company.
Yep.
Wyatt really needs a whiff here.
Has anyone ever really whiffed in the Elf deck with Collected Company?
Oh, that's the 3 drops. He's got another. Is that another Archdruid?
It is. It's another
and
Archdruid and Azuri. It's everything he needs.
That's how you do with elves. Well, with elves. Eduardo got a couple of mana creatures. Not good enough.
No,
this is the way to do it. Oh, brutal. So Brendan could just do all of the things, right? I mean, he's got the Archdruid. He can tap that for 5 mana to overrun or give your entire team +3/+3 and trample. So I mean, I think this is just
I feel like
this is just lethal.
Dead.
2, 4, 5, 6 plus.
It's plus 12.
12, 18 damage. Oh no, plus 4 because the Archdruid also acts as an anthem effect. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Plus 12, 22 damage. Yeah, that's 22 damage. And Wyatt's already at 14 from the Dismember and the Horizon Canopy.
And there's the hand. Brendan Winkleman takes down the Pro Tour champion. He goes to 6-0 in the tournament. We see him reach for the slip. He's like, yeah, that's right.
Pro Tour champion. Yeah, you might be a Pro Tour champion, but I mean, I own a building, so,
But, wow, okay. So elves is the answer to humans, and then you see Wyatt always had a smile on his face, win, lose, or draw. Hasn't done a lot of the losing though, so it's nice to see that he can maintain that good composure there.
Yeah, wow, those are just some blisteringly fast games, and both decks just kind of showcasing the power, of just what their decks can do. Turn 2 Mantis Rider into Phantasmal Image into like more Mantis Riders, and then the Elf deck again. If you're expecting a field, because we've seen a couple of Elf decks already, and we've even seen Andrew Cuneo playing Infect. If people are shying away from these like mid-range decks with lots of removal, like Jund and what have you, then these decks have a chance to actually thrive in this metagame.
Yeah, and again we saw that Wyatt really agonized over that game 3 hand,
right?
Because he did have a Reflector Mage, so if he had hit that second land drop, that game could have swung in an entirely different direction with that Elvish Archdruid not being able to untap and make all the mana that then let him fire off that Collector Company. So it's really just very, very close games with two very explosive decks.
Yeah, I mean the land was very, very crucial. I mean, to be fair, the deck only plays 19 lands, so there's a decent chance that you miss. But yes, if White hit that land, it could have been a completely different game. I mean, Brendan did have a pretty great draw, to be fair, and he did have a lot of mana, and he did hit very well off that Collect the Company.
Oh yeah.
So it probably would have been much closer.
Hey, Heritage Druid's my my MVP card so far.
Oh
in
yeah,
this
it's
tournament.
been so impressive.
Every time I've seen it, people are just doing really crazy things with it. And,
Yeah.
You know, like you said, people are untapped, passing the turn with 5 mana in play open. But you know what? I know he lost, but I still want to hear from Wyatt Darby. Hey, Wyatt. Brian David Marshall here with Paul Cheon. And this is our first chance to talk to you since the post-game interview at the Pro Tour. I wanted to find out, what's it like winning a Pro Tour?
About as good as you'd expect. This is the first of many GPs for me, so that round might not have gone as great as I like to. We'll plan it out on beforehand, but still really great just to be out here and to be playing some Modern. Really think the format's pretty great.
How much Modern had you played prior to this GP? Is this a format you have a lot of experience with?
Yeah, lifetime probably well over 1,000 games. With humans, well over 5 leagues. So all around it's
a master.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's that's one of those things though. Once you know what a lot of the decks are trying to do, you can kind of transfer that knowledge no matter what you're playing, and it's all about understanding your role and what cards matter and what cards don't.
What was the reaction like at home? We've heard this term, generic brand Michael Majors. What does that mean?
I think it means if you take a regular Michael Majors, of which there are one that I know of, and you just kind of remove some of the charisma, some of the magic talents, and maybe just overall likability, and then you get this, the generic brand. Still works though, if you're on a budget, I'd recommend that.
Just a discount version, Yeah.
You feel comfortable letting your friends take you down a peg a little bit so that they let you draft with them at the store still?
Yeah, got to keep me humble. I like to think I'm a pretty, even-headed guy, but hey, I've been getting a few attaboys, here and there, so it's good to, keep myself grounded.
Now I got to ask you, I saw a little controversy on the Facebook page. I got invited. I got joined into the Wyatt Darby fan club page, and I saw a little bit of, it was like there was some politics going on. People were like, look, it's nice that he won, but we're the Midwest Tournament Updater, and we need to be called as such. And it was a little not contentious, but what did you think?
Yeah, I'm not one to say I'm bigger than the group or the Midwest. I mean, there's a lot of great guys posting a lot of great updates all the time, and that's what it's about, in the end. If people want to cheer me on, that's awesome. But at the same time, it started with saying like, hey, I'm 3-0 in this PPTQ, want to let my friends know. And, it would be very... it'd be too much of me to take that away from everyone else. So
I think we just need a separate group.
Yeah.
Separate group's fine. Yeah. Whoever wants to start that, just let me know. I can do whatever I can to get that happen.
I mean, you're pretty good. How important is it to have though, whether it's getting to a Grand Prix and doing well or winning a Pro Tour or anything in between, to have that support group, to have like a strong community? What's something that people can do within their own Magic communities to foster each other and push themselves further, like this group has been able to do with you?
Yeah, it's always about being open. Everyone's new at some point, and everyone's, when you're new, you have some things to learn. So it's all about not dismissing people for their early mistakes when you see them at your local shop, and let them know what they can do to get better. And I was fortunate enough to have some local people who were able to take that attitude with me, and you can see where it's got me. So just be kind, be decent, and your community is going to grow from that.
Awesome. Wyatt Darby, continued good luck the rest of this tournament and throughout the rest of this Pro Tour season.
I appreciate that, BDM.
All right. Super nice guy. Really fun to talk to him. And I thought that was really, I do think that's a really important message about Magic is, it's very easy to watch people play Magic and be critical, but it's really another thing to find a way to help people learn from their mistakes. It's not just about criticizing, right?
Yeah, I firmly believe in just trying to bring everybody up with you, right? I think just making that environment where everybody's just trying to better each other is going to just lead to where you get these like power teams. They all started from somewhere too. Look at the people who used to play in the Bay Area, for example. They were all kind of like nobody knew what they were about, and all of a sudden you got David Ochoa, LSV, Raptor. They all just came from the same area because they all just kind of played together and just made each other better.
Yeah, no, it's great. We got some more Magic coming up for you this round. Don't go anywhere, but first we got a couple quick messages. back to the booth. Brendan Marshall here with Paul Cheon. We've got some more Magic coming up for you right now. And, we just talked to the Pro Tour champion and watched him play his match. We're going to actually go to the constructed master who clinched a berth at the World Championship at the last Pro Tour, Matt Severa. And he's playing against Zachary Alexander. And I'm just going to assume Matt Severa's playing vehicles because that's what he's done all year long en route to getting himself to the World Championship.
Yeah, that's just kind of been his bread and butter. But he's not playing vehicles.
He's not?
He's not playing an aggressive deck.
He
always likes to attack. And this is like the literal opposite of what I would expect him to play. He is playing Jeskai Control.
Wow, I see Cryptic Command on his list.
I mean, I got to respect him for that. But wow, it's just not something that I really expected. But Matt Severa on the draw and Zachary Alexander with an explosive start here.
Yeah, this is crazy. Arcbound Ravager, Mox Opal, Springleaf Drum, and a Welding Jar.
Yeah, he's got so much mana. He's got protection from the Arcbound Ravager. And, Affinity is one of those decks where it feels like you're almost playing a different game when you have the Mox Opal draws, right? Because you're just kind of cheating in terms of mana. So, Zachary Alexander, depending on whether or not that last card is a payoff card, could potentially run away with this. But if it's just the Ravager, then Matt Severa certainly has plenty of time.
Yeah, the problem is it's never just the Ravager, right? It's also sometimes your lands.
Right. But this is not a whole lot of pressure.
Well, here's Path to Exile. And is that a pure Wrath against the Affinity deck? You usually have maybe one mountain.
Yeah, Affinity decks typically play one basic land.
A pure Sword Supply, sure.
Right. So depending on the build, if you're more blue heavy with Master of Ethereum and Thoughtcast, you play an island. But some decks also play Mountain, and I think recently Mountain has been more of the staple here. So
Matt falls to 17.
Yeah, and a lot of the control decks that we've seen previously so far has been a Kiki-Jiki combo variant. This is a pure control deck with its primary win conditions being Snapcaster Mage and Colonnade. Wow,
there's an Etched Champion. How bad is that for the Jeskai control deck?
That is really rough. Matt Severa does have multiple copies.
How about we just Logic Knot that?
Okay, never mind. If it's resolved, Matt Severa does have a couple of copies of Supreme Verdict.
Okay.
But the Logic... Oh, there's a Secure the Waste, too. That's another win condition as well.
All right, now Matt Severa is going to actually take a little damage there from his Sacred Foundry.
Yeah, so
he can have 4 mana untapped, and this is representing Cryptic Command here?
Cryptic Command, he could also be representing a Burn Spell, Lightning Bolt, Lightning Helix, stuff like that. There's a ton of things that he could be representing. Whenever the Jeskai control deck untaps, especially with that Shock Land with 4 mana up, you're just like, oh, God, what do you have, man? Because it could really just be anything.
Well, here's Snapcaster Mage into Path to Exile.
Yeah, and Zachary chose not to get a land with the first Ravager, wanted to just be aggressive because he didn't need the mana source. But now, with the second path, he doesn't have a Ravager, so he's going to get his likely to be basic mountain. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's the basic mountain.
All right, and then Matt Severa.
Yeah, so Zach had an incredibly fast start in terms of putting permanents on the battlefield with the mana, but it's still very important to have a payoff card. So when I talk about payoff cards, I'm talking about that Etched Champion that we saw, Cranial Plating, Steel Overseer, things of that nature. And without that, your deck just kind of loses to itself.
One of the things that Matt Severa has really impressed me with as I've watched him over this last season is how quickly and briskly he plays. And you see it even playing a control deck.
Yeah.
Zachary's still resolving his land and probably said go, and Matt's already dropped a Celestial Colonnade and attacked with Snapcaster Mage and just is, no fussing around.
Well, yeah, and especially if you look at Matt Severa's list, he's not playing the Kiki-Jiki combo, and games can get really drawn out. So in order to actually make sure you don't pick up draws, you need to play quickly. And so, Matt is aware of this and making sure he knows what he needs to do. And to be fair, this matchup is pretty straightforward. Use your removal spells, counter the things that need to be countered, and then attack when you can.
So, yeah, Matt is getting his attacks on with the Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah,
he's also got that Celestial Colonnade threatening to do stuff.
Yeah. So he can activate the Colonnade to block the Signal Peasant. Yeah.
All right, well, here we go. In come the two Nexuses and the Signal Pest. What do you block here if you're Matt Severa?
Probably the Signal Pest. I think that's a decent option. I mean, Zach does have that welding jar, but the Signal Pest is basically providing 2 power on Zachary's side of the board with the Blink Moth with both of the Nexuses. So I could see that being an option. But ooh, okay.
So Electrostatic Bolt is the last card in hand for Zachary Alexander.
Or Galvanic Blast.
Galvanic Blast. What did I say?
Electrostatic Bolt. But that's also a reasonable card.
Yeah, Galvanic Blast. Sorry.
Yeah.
And Zachary's going to use the mana to path the Signal Pest, and now that is a Swords to Plowshares.
Right.
Or better, actually, even.
Yeah. There is no downside now once you get that first land out of the way. And he's a little disappointed because Zachary did get that Signal Pest trigger, but his plan was to activate the Colonnade and then potentially use the mana that you can get with the Colonnade after blocks to cast Path to Exile. But Matt's still in a pretty good spot.
11 life, 3 poison.
Oh, maybe not.
There's an Arcbound Ravager.
This looks like a Cryptic Command.
Oh.
Yeah.
Counter that, draw a card.
And this is heads up to Matt Severa keeping up Sacred Foundry because that allows him to draw either Lightning Bolt or Path to Exile off the Cryptic Command.
All right, in comes the Nexus.
Oh, that's a Lightning Helix.
There you go.
Yeah, great for this race. I think he might. He has a Serum Visions, but he could also consider not casting it and just trying to close out the game with that Secure the Wastes. But
there's another.
Ooh, and that's a Cryptic Command.
Yeah, another.
You never bought him Cryptic Command. Come on, have some respect. Yeah. Oh, and wow, Matt Severa's got
everything.
He's got the Electrolyze.
Yeah, everything in hand for Matt Severa here.
Yeah.
He's even got to Secure the Waste to secure the win.
Yeah, and this is really where the Jeskai deck. I think this is one of the Jeskai deck's best matchups. You're playing a deck with just a pile of removal, sweepers, and Snapcaster Mages to replay them. So.
All right, here is Vault Scourge.
Ooh, full price Vault Scourge. Oh, it's Electrolyze time. Here we go. Oh,
Shrug,
there it
Electrolyze.
is. And Zachary choosing to save the Welding Jar.
Yeah, well, he's much more interested in gaining a little life back with that Vault Scourge and keeping that thing alive.
Yeah.
Another Serum Visions.
Matt now just firmly in the lead here. He's got that Cryptic Command in hand. And all Zachary's working with is that 1/1 Vault Scourge. He's got Logic Knot as well. Oof.
And there's really almost no card Matt Severa draws that he's unhappy with at this point in the game.
Right.
Lands, he's pretty happy with those. More spells, sure, I'll take them.
Yeah.
And then Lightning Helix takes him. He's like, why am I doing this to myself?
I am off this.
Let's go to game 2. And this is going to be a really nice start for him again. Turn 1 Vault Scourge, Memnite, and a Nexus.
You need to get going quick. And Matt, I know you don't want to necessarily take damage against creature decks, but I think he's got that Lightning Bolt in hand, and he feels like over the long term this will save him more life by firing off the removal.
Yep, and he does Lightning Bolt the Vault Scourge. Takes 1 from the Memnite.
Yeah, and he's got a Helix there too. So, ooh,
another second Vault Scourge, but not quite the same explosive draw as game 1.
Yeah. So Matt's got some options. Yeah, I think that might be a Serum Visions, but he's got that Lightning Helix, and keeping up that Lightning Helix for a potential Cranial Plating the next turn might be a thing.
That's just the word you keep repeating to yourself in your head as you're playing this. Is like, cranial. I gotta just remember, watch out for cranial plating.
You got always got to be always mindful of that cranial plating. And also, one important thing in this matchup too is you got to fetch basics when you can. Affinity decks often play 1 to 2 copies of Blood Moon, and when you're playing against the Jeskai deck, Blood Moon can be effective, especially against people who don't necessarily play around it. But Matt is a constructed master. All right, so this is the big turn. Does Zachary have a 3-mana play here? An Etched Champion would be great here. It would be a little bit vulnerable if Matt did use removal spell into another removal spell, because if Matt does use a removal spell on Vault Scourge, Zach will lose Metalcraft.
Well, here you go.
Oh, and that's a ceremonious rejection.
Wow, he rejects.
Whoa. Zach probably did not see that one coming.
No, did you see it coming?
I did not.
Yeah.
So,
And you've won a World Team Championship.
yeah, I always forget that.
That was the last time an American team has won. It's been a
Yeah.
long time.
That's right. I want to say keep it that way, but I also kind of want America to win, so I don't know.
Oh, wow. There's Karn Cyanivore. And that starts to get just spit out some pretty big creatures here.
Yeah, so that's currently going to be a 3/3. And now Matt Severa has a Lightning Helix, and he might point that Lightning Helix at the Karn if he doesn't have a way to remove it. And yeah, Helix is the best way to deal with this. And then he's also going to need to find a way to deal with the creatures on the board. So yeah, I imagine Helix is going to the Karn here. It's going to just give Zach just a bunch of cards over the course of the game. You know, in the Affinity deck, I imagine the play pattern is -/-, then you start drawing cards, as the constructs are gigantic.
Well, I mean, look at it. It's a 3/3 right now, and then he can make it as, well, honestly, those all animate to artifact creatures, right? He can make that a 7/7 on his turn,
Right.
if he didn't want to attack with any of his lands.
Yeah, definitely. So now Severa, a sweeper, of course, would be great here, but he might be. Looks like a Cryptic Command. So, if Zach doesn't play a relevant spell here, I could see Matt Severa opting to use Cryptic Command to bounce. Oh yeah, he was definitely bouncing the token and drawing a card here with the Cryptic Command. Look at that, using it as a repulse,
Yeah.
if you will. Bounce permanent, draw a card.
Still takes 4 in the process.
Yeah, he's still taking a lot of damage. I mean, Zachary does have a bunch of those creature lands on the battlefield.
It seems like that's going to be really that's really going to be the challenging part here for Matt to deal with, because Zachary can just, at some point, gets close enough that he can just run those in every turn.
Right. Yeah, Matt really wants an Electrolyze. That would do a lot of work here. So now what is Zach going to go for? Is he going for Infect or Damage? Or the classic half and half?
I think we got the half and half going on here.
Oh, we got the... Oh,
Whoa,
but...
Cryptic Command in your attack step.
Zach went for the aggressive activate all the Nexuses. He could have just chosen to activate 2 of them and then seen what Matt does and then just be content attacking with those. Especially because he has a couple of Blink Moth Nexuses. If he, for example, activated the Ink Moths, he could have then just passed priority, and then if Matt doesn't do anything, he could use the Blink Moth to pump up one of those Nexuses.
Right.
So
or even in response, activate the other Nexus.
Right. Doing it again.
Hey, he's just getting in there.
Oh, that's an Izzet Staticaster.
Oh, boy. Well, that is exactly the card Matt Severa wanted to see here.
That is great. So now he can play out this Izzet Staticaster, block the Memnite, and then shoot down 2 copies of those Blink Moth Nexuses, right?
Wow.
Or maybe it wasn't a Staticaster. Does he actually have Staticaster?
He does have them in his sideboard for sure.
Yeah.
So he plays Snapcaster Mage. He Lightning Helixes this Vault Scourge, and he blocks the Memnite.
Okay. I guess he figures
so he's going to take 2 and take 1, in fact, and then he gains 3.
Mm-hmm. And I guess he figures that this Staticaster is just going to get these Nexuses anyway, so use a Snapcaster here to get some of the life back.
And again, Zachary is running out of cards and doesn't really have, without that Karn there,
right,
doesn't really have a way to replenish his hand. Yeah, this is just the worst feeling in the world. When you're playing against a control deck, they have 3, 4, even 5 cards in hand, and you are just basically playing off the top or playing with that one card that's, maybe it's a land that you're bluffing with a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is a situation where, Zach just didn't have, I guess, enough of the payoff cards. That ceremonious rejection was just so brutal. I'm pretty sure Zach was thinking, okay, you know what, the coast is clear here. He's got up 1 mana. Can't have anything, right?
That's a fun of, too, in his sideboard.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you can apply it to a lot of different matchups. You have Affinity, but it's also good against, of course, Karkline Ironworks, and it's also good against the Eldrazi decks.
Yeah, the card's fantastic, and looked great there.
All right, same thing, probably. Oh, my goodness. Oh, this Staticaster. This Staticaster. I can't handle it. Oh, God. That is the best Staticaster I've ever seen.
That was like rain of salt.
I can't even sit up straight after that, BDM. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. That was, he killed 4 lands.
That is the definition of gross.
Yeah. I mean, he literally could not have had more targets. He got all 4 copies. Wow.
Yeah, just absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
Izzet Staticaster seals the game for Matt Severa.
Yeah.
And you know what? It also means that we have time for more Magic. So let's head down and let's take a look at the Time Walk match between Sam Black and Richard Mulligan. And people at home get one guess as to what Sam's playing.
Everybody's favorite deck, right?
It's got to be Lantern Control.
Oh, yeah.
And there you see the all the brown cards in hand for Sam Black. And Richard Mulligan, what is he playing?
Richard Mulligan is playing Burn. So this has, in the past, been a rough matchup for the Lantern deck because, there's a lot of redundancy in the Burn deck, and they're just oftentimes just going to be able to just get you low enough. You're not going to be able to race it. But with the addition of a few cards, with the addition of like Inventor's Fair, War of Invention means that you can get a very powerful Silver Bullet in the singular copy of Witchbane Orb, which shuts down all the burn spells. But Eidolon of the Great Revel is also really, really powerful in this matchup.
Oh, yeah, of course, absolutely.
So if Richard can get that in play early, too, that's going to be really hard to deal with. And Active Lavamancer, too, is really, really rough because even if you try to, slow the game down with an Ensnaring Bridge, the Lavamancer can just ping you down.
So that's Codex Shredder and Mishra's Bauble out on the board early for Sam Black. Yep. Meanwhile, Grim Lavamancer and Monastery Swiftspear attack for Richard Mulligan, who only has 1 land in play at the end of turn 2.
Ooh, okay. And one thing that, the Lantern deck has evolved a lot, but at some point it did play Collective Brutality, which also helped this matchup a lot. But it no longer has room for that because you have to fit in the 4 copies of War of Invention. But so missing a land drop is huge.
Yeah, we see the Codex Shredder. Now there's a second one in hand. There's also Epiphany.
He's got the Lantern.
There's the Lantern of Insight. Everyone
no lands for you. You can have that one.
There's a Shard Volley. It's a second copy of Codex Shredder.
Yeah. I mean, whenever you just naturally draw the Lantern with the Mana Rocks, or with the Mill Rocks, it's so brutal.
So he's going to let Richard draw Shard Volley.
Probably
there's a land on top. Probably going to mill the land. Just keep him locked under depleted resources for as long as possible. That's basically what this deck does. Oh, do you have too much land? Well, have some more. Right. Oh, you don't have any? All right, well, don't have any.
Yeah. I mean, Rich does still have, a loaded hand. Oh, that's a Wizard's Lightning. Oh, wow. Okay. So it's Wizard Burn. He's got Gitu Lava Runner.
Oh.
Lavamancer, Monastery Swiftspear, and Soulscar Mage, all wizards. Yeah, and they're all 1-drops, and those are the only creatures. He's not even playing Eidolon in his deck.
Wow.
So his curve is really low. He tops out at 2.
Yeah, he got in for 6 that turn between the burn spell, the prowess trigger. And then now things are a little trickier for Sam about what he can let Richard keep.
Right.
He doesn't want him to have land, but does he really want to give him a Lava Spike here?
Yeah, so Sam has multiple things that he needs to deal with here. There's that active Grim Lavamancer, which he has a needle for. He also wants to find an Ensnaring Bridge to prevent these creatures from attacking. And at the same time, he also wants to get that Witchbane Orb onto the battlefield so that he can't get burned out. But that Pyrite Spellbomb is a nice card to have on top. That does give you an answer to the creatures that are on the battlefield.
Well, there's Ensnaring Bridge.
Right, but Richard will get to get another attack in here because Sam still is working with 2 cards in hand.
And remember, we know Richard's holding Shard Volley, too.
Right, and Sam also is aware of this. So the Lava Spike here, if Sam chooses to let Richard draw the Lava Spike, will mean that Richard will be able to get in for 6 damage with the Prowess trigger as well. That'll put that Sam down to 6. It's a lot of pressure because you already know that Richard has that Shard Volley in hand. So if he's got a Rift Bolt or anything of that nature, you know, that's going to be it unless, again, Sam can find that Witchbane Orb.
There's a Sacred Foundry. With the land sort of taunting Richard. He can never quite get there. Basically needs to have like multiple running lands in a row.
Yeah, I mean, Sam is definitely in that situation where he's like so close to being able to lock the game up. He just needs to survive the next couple of, like, just like the next turn. Because I think he even had a Word of Invention in hand.
Shows him the Lava Spike, points for the Prowess trigger, and boom, Sam is going to fall to 6 here. Wow.
Oh, and he's milling this. I know what he's doing. He's looking for a land here.
There's an Ancient Stirrings on top.
So he's got the mana to Word of Invention, but he would take 2 damage off of the Spire of Industries if he does choose to do that.
Well, there's a land for him.
Yeah, so what he wants to do is Ancient Stirrings for an untapped. Can he get an untapped? No, that doesn't work. He can't actually cast the War yet.
No.
Yeah. If he does this. Okay, so there is a Glimmer Void, which is a nice way of tapping for blue without taking damage.
All right. Puts that into play.
Yeah. So now, okay, so now he can. If he whirs for 4 for Witchbane Orb, he'll go down to 4, but Richard can still attack with the 2 creatures that he's on the battlefield, and Shard Volley himself to trigger Prowess, but that's still not enough.
It's still not enough now.
At the same time, there's that Sacred Foundry. All right, is he just going for it?
It looks like he is. There's the Word of Invention.
Yep. So he's getting that Witchbane Orb. Now, does Richard Mulligan have 2 1-mana spells or a haste creature that he can target to himself? Because Sam Black has a Pithing Needle in hand that he can't cast. So with that land, Richard needs to be able to attack and then play instants to trigger the Prowess on the Monastery Swift Spear to get in for lethal. So if he has 2 1-mana spells,
wow,
he will be able to get in for lethal here.
So he gets to draw a land.
Yeah. Oh, he might be able to Boros Charm too. Attack, Boros Charm, double strike the Monastery Swift Spear. That would also do it. But if he's got a bunch of 2-mana spells, that won't work. But he's got Shard Volley, Wizard's Lightning, Lightning Bolt, and Lava Spike. Gitu Lava Runner would not do it because he has too many spells in the graveyard, so it would be a 2/2. And I don't. Oh, he's actually not playing Boros Charm. Oh, this is.
So the problem here,
so
of course,
close.
is that Ensnaring Bridge.
Yeah. Yeah, Sam Black has 1 card in hand, so Richard can attack with both of his wizards, at least for 1 more turn. And we know that he's got a Shard Volley in hand. So what he can do is attack with both creatures, Shard Volley himself, and use that's the Prowess trigger off the Swift Spear, and that's 3 damage. Oh, does he?
All right, gets in with both.
Okay, so he's Shard Volleying himself. So maybe he's having it, he has it, and he just wants to make sure he can. Or is this it? Nope.
Shard Volleys himself for the Prowess trigger.
Okay. This will put Sam down to 1. Oh, okay. And I think Sam might be able to stabilize here. He's got that Witchbane Orb.
He's tapping.
Yeah. He played it untapped. So, and then now he's like, I didn't need it, so I want to tap it. But, it's untapped. Does he have an... Oh, he's got a Wizard's Lightning! Wait, was that a Wizard's Lightning?
Did he go too far?
Oh, did he go too fast?
Did he miss a Prowess trigger?
I think he might have.
Oh, no.
Oh, maybe not. Maybe it was just Gitu Lava Run. I'm not actually sure what his hand is.
Okay, yeah, let's not
I feel like he would have seen it.
Scott
because he Shard Volleyed himself, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
At great personal cost.
Yeah. So now Sam Black can play the Pithing Needle here. He can draw the Abrupt Decay if he wants. He can just empty out his hand. Oh, apparently he had another Shard Volley in hand and missed it. Oh, that is rough.
Like Fire Blast me,
Yeah.
sacrificing 2
For 1
lands.
damage.
They want to get one
It's
extra
not-
point of damage to
yeah.
kill you.
To be fair, it's not the most intuitive play.
No.
When you play a burn deck, you want to burn your opponent. What's weird is he casts 1 shard volley on himself, but not the second.
All right, well, there's the Pithing Needle for Sam.
And now Sam is hellbent. He's got no cards in hand, meaning that none of Richard Mulligan's creatures can attack.
Wow.
And he's got a Witchbane Orb in play, meaning that he can't actually have any burn spells targeted at him. So I think Sam's actually locked this game up.
Uh,
Oh, so close.
wow.
So close. Yeah, I don't. I think this is the lock. He does not have a 0 power creature that he can pump somehow. I've seen Lantern decks lose to
Wasn't there-
Signal Pests.
Didn't there used to be a Lava Spike that was both players? It was like, both players take 3 damage or something like that. He needs a card like that. He needs something just non-targeted.
Flame Rift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So at this point, yeah, Sam is just
And then you got to sit there knowing you missed lethal.
Yeah.
While this deck just kind of just keeps you, we call this a prison deck because,
Right.
well, you just can't do anything.
Exactly. And now Sam just, being careful, locking up the game where he can. But I don't know how familiar Richard is with this matchup, but this game is basically over at this point.
Sam is never going to keep a card in hand.
Right. Never.
He's never going to draw the card he doesn't want to draw. He's
Right.
never going to let Richard really draw anything
Yeah.
that is an ideal card to draw.
And Sam is just, trying to lock it up. Find another Mill Rock, if possible. But he can play this nice and slow. Yeah.
Plays
Ancient
one,
Stirring
draws
is
it.
probably going to find him another.
Another piece of the puzzle.
Right. And then at some point, once Sam feels very comfortable, he has enough mana rocks or mill rocks on the battlefield, then he can start using Codex Shredder to actively mill Richard Mulligan out.
And the game closes pretty quickly from there. But
Right.
but man, if you've missed the lethal
Yeah.
and you have to sit here through this is pretty agonizing.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, it's another Lantern, so in case anything crazy happens, that gives Sam another shuffle. I mean, at the same time, Sam doesn't know exactly all the contents of, this is a slightly different burn list. Maybe Richard does have some weird 1-mana spell that hits both players or something.
Plays one Earthquake.
Yeah, just something.
Earthquake for 1 would do it.
Something weird. Okay.
Plays his land, but
Plays his land, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this list. I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah.
He passes, and now Sam is still just.
Yeah, at this point, it's like both players are maybe just playing for. Well, Sam is actually trying to win, but maybe Richard's just trying to get a little more information. But
Right.
this is a relatively stock list from Sam Black. He's been playing this for quite a while now.
Like Grafdigger's Cage.
In case there's some kind of lava dart type card or something. I don't even.
So now, is there some point? Yeah, okay. I was
Okay,
just gonna say, is
yeah.
there some point where Richard just has to go? I know my list, and there's nothing I can do here. And you've demonstrated that you're never gonna forget to play a land.
Yeah. I mean, it's whenever he just feels like giving up, which, I think what the point where Sam was, the thing is, it's like you feel like you're so close. You got your opponent down to 1, so it feels so bad for scooping it up there and when you're playing a burn deck. But, I mean, at the end of the day, Sam basically had more or less a hard lock there.
All right, same opening here for Sam Black. Monastery Swiftspear got in on turn 1 for Richard. Codex Shredder and Mishra's Bauble for Sam.
And Richard, Sam can no longer rely as heavily on Witchbane Orb or the Ensnaring Bridge because Richard does have 3 Destructive Revelries in his sideboard, so he's got some additional interaction here.
What's the decision that goes into the various artifact removal that people can play in this format?
I think if you're the burn deck, there's like 2 different routes, right? If you feel like you need a way to just deal with a bunch of artifacts, I could see people looking to play something like an Ancient Grudge. but I think most burn decks realize that like you need to play spells that double as burn at the same time to actually have a chance at racing decks like Affinity and also deal with these these Lantern decks. So most burn decks have kind of opted for Destructive Revelry as that option of choice.
All right, here we see Richard casting Lava Spike, getting a prowess trigger on Monastery Swift Spear, getting in for 2.
Yeah, and also Destructive Revelry kills, of course, enchantments. And cards like Leyline of Sanctity are, is an option that you need to deal with. And if you look at Sam Black, he actually has a couple of Leyline of Sanctities in his sideboard. So that's another card to be very mindful of. And also, every now and then you play against a Boggles deck. And I'm just saying, you want to be able to get that Daybreak Coronet. So
now Soulscar Mage comes down for Richard. You talked about this being a wizard deck.
Yep.
Now Sam looks like he's scuffling a little bit for mana here.
Yeah, but did he play the Ancient Stirrings already? Oh yeah, it looks like he did. But yeah, being on the draw is always just going to be rough here. All right, another Stirrings. Ooh, and there's the Witchbane Orb. I don't know, you said he was scuffling for mana, so maybe that's not the card that he wants here.
I mean, it looks like he has an Inventor's Fair in hand.
Okay. Yeah, maybe he wants a Mana Source because he is actually holding a Pyroclasm in hand.
Oh, wow.
So if you can find like a Glimmer Void or a Spire, he might be interested in that because, if you're the burn player, I don't think you're going to be keeping up a Lightning Bolt to save your creatures from Pyroclasm. If you have something like a Lightning Bolt or Lava Spike, you're probably firing it off on your main phase to get in for maximum damage with your prowess creatures.
So Sam decides to go with Welding Jar. No doubt thinking about those very many options that Richard has out of the sideboard.
And the nice thing about the Welding Jar, too, is a free artifact that he can play. And with the Inventor's Fair in Sam Black's hand, this guarantees that he will be able to gain a life next turn, which is not irrelevant.
And so Island on top for him, Rift Bolt on top for Richard Mulligan. Only 2 cards left in hand for Richard.
Yeah, so Sam is considering whether or not what to do with this Rift Bolt. If he chooses to mill it, then there's always the danger of something like a Destructive Revelry, but he's going for it here and hoping that this is an irrelevant card. Okay.
And it's a Get You Lava Runner.
And because he milled that Rift Bolt, it will have haste here.
Like, okay, you can draw it.
Oh,
there's Wizard's
okay.
Lightning.
So yeah, I don't know if Richard Mulligan has any burn spells, but he's got a Goblin Guy with no downside anymore, right? So 1 mana 2/2 haster here. Does he have a 1 mana spell? That would be really big. This is a lot of damage.
Well, how about a Shard Volley again?
Ooh.
3 to you.
That's 9 damage this turn. This is going to put Sam down to 5 life.
And then both the Soulscar Mage and the Monastery Swift Spear get a trigger.
Yeah, so this puts Sam down to 5, and he needs to find a red source here for Pyroclasm.
Oh wow!
It's really, really big. So, but he's got that island on top. I don't know if he has a red source, but he's going to go up to 6 here. And now he might consider Codex Shreddering himself to increase the chances of maybe finding a red source. Because he's got too many cards in hand for that Ensnaring Bridge to do anything for the following turn.
Sam is still in his upkeep here. He's just trying to figure out.
I mean, I think that's his path to victory. I mean, Sam is at 6. He did gain a life from that Inventor's Fair, I believe, right? Because he went down to 5. So now, yeah, does he? Oh, this is rough, but I think you just have to do this. I think you just really need to find. Oh, and there it is. There's a red source.
Finds the Glimmer Void.
Perfect. It was either Glimmer Void or maybe another Ancient Stirrings to try to find. Those were the cards, or Mox Opal.
And now he's going to cast Pyroclasm, and he is going to sweep up Richard
big.
Mulligan's board. And now Richard needs to find 5 points of burn here.
Yeah, and there's that Wizard's Lightning in his hand.
6 points of burn.
There's a Wizard's Lightning in his hand,
no.
but he doesn't have a Wizard. So he's going to have to pay full price for this Wizard's Lightning unless he gets a Wizard on the battlefield.
Well, there's a Grim Lavamancer.
Okay. But every turn, Sam is gaining life. He's gaining a third of a burn spell every turn.
Right now he's going up to 7.
And 7 is important. That means that Richard needs another burn spell for lethal.
And Sam is happy to draw the land there.
And now what is Sam working with? Oh, that's a War of Invention. So he can use that to get the way. And he's going to use Abrupt Decay here on the Grim Lava
Oh,
Mancer.
absolutely. Get that out of here.
And Sam's now sitting at 7 life. So, yeah, he's locking up the game again here. And Richard is light on lands, and that's a Skullcrack that he drew.
Yeah, Skullcrack and Lava Spike, but again, each turn, it's like digging a hole in the sand.
Right.
Right. The sides start to slide back in.
Yeah. And not only that, Sam has that War of Invention, but he's also got that Welding Jar for protection. So even if Richard had a card like Destructive Revelry, he's got the protection for that Witchbane Orb. So yeah, and he's even got that Ensnaring Bridge too. So Sam basically has everything here.
He is going to go for the War of Invention right now.
Yeah, and still has that Codex Shredder activation up too.
Yeah, he says, okay. And it is going to be a Witchbane Orb.
And it's probably not going to be too long before Richard concedes this.
Wow.
Yeah. That Glimmer Void was so clutch. That was so big. He needed to find a red source that turn.
There's a Pixis of Pandemonium.
And he is happy with that one. Yeah, and now it's like, yeah, you can have Lava Spike. I don't care. I got Witchbane Orb. You're going to have that one too.
Yeah.
I don't care. Sam might just try to lock him out of lands at this point, because who knows? Maybe Richard plays Ancient Grudge and has it in his hand. Yeah. Now Sam is up to 8.
Wow.
And yeah, now he's got the Ensnaring Bridge too, so haste creatures don't matter. And he's got the 2 Mill Rocks, and yeah, this is going to be it.
And now again, it's a situation is how long does Richard want to play this game
Right.
before he figures out if he can win this or not. So again, we talked about the Destructive Revelry. There's 3 of them,
Yeah.
but that's going to require land and Revelries showing up at just the right sequence in his deck.
I mean, at this point, if you just like try to run the numbers, it's like, Sam is, 90+% to win this. Maybe 95+. I don't actually know. But
there's a Destructive Revelry.
Yeah.
Now, it's not going to be a card that Richard Mulligan gets to play with.
Yeah. Now the other question is Sam's game plan here to just make it so Richard never finds a second mana source and just give him the Revelry, or is that too much of a risk because there is a non-zero chance that Richard could just have 3 lands on top of his library?
It's much more likely that he's
Right.
going to have a streak of lands.
Yeah.
So you see Sam just continues to just draw and play lands, develop his board.
Oh, he's giving him the Revelry.
All right, he gave it to him. Wow.
Yep.
There's Monastery Swift Spear.
And I think he's going to probably keep this Ancient Stirrings. He does have a Codex Shredder, which he can use to get back something if he wants to, but I think he can just play this slow. Just get that Ancient Stirrings, look for another Mill Rock, and just slowly take over.
All right, here is Ancient Stirrings. He's like, he's got there's the Pyrite
There's a
Spellbomb.
Spellbomb. Ooh, Academy Ruins is a nice one. I think he's going to go with that.
Okay, does go for the Academy Ruins.
So yeah, now what he can do is he can use Codex Shredder to get back whatever he needs in his graveyard and still recur it if he doesn't like the top card of his deck with that Academy Ruins.
There's a Wizard's Lightning on top.
Yep. Oh, he's got a wizard on the battlefield now. So, and Sam could consider just drawing the Inquisition just to have perfect information. It's like, I'm going to draw this Inquisition just to see what you got. But looks like he got the War of Invention here. Does he want to keep this? Does he want to draw this Inquisition, or does he want to go for the upkeep War of Invention for a shuffle?
That's what it looks like he's doing here. It's like, I don't really need the Inquisition. I know everything that's in your hand at this point.
And keep in mind, Sam is gaining 1 life every single turn because he has that Inventor's Fair on the battlefield. So Richard needs to find multiple ways to kill Witchbane Orb and then find a way to deal like 15 damage to Sam. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, Sam is just in total control here.
Yeah. Yeah, so now basically what he's doing is he's just looping these. He's using Codex Shredder to get back War of Invention, War of Inventioning for Codex Shredder, and then by doing this, with the Academy Ruins on the battlefield, he can just make sure that he's just going to win the game with all the Shredders. All right, there we
go.
go.
Mulligan. puts us all out of our misery there. I mean, although Sam Black seems like he's having a good time with it.
Oh yeah, he loves this deck. And the thing is, I mean, Lantern, it's a very polarizing deck. People love it, people hate it. But at the same time, also just watching the game,
it's a thing of beauty.
Right. It's like, how did this deck come together? It's just, but at the same time, it's like a puzzle, right? You kind of look at this and you're like, you know exactly what you need to do, and you have to just do everything, all these tiny margins. Sam had to mill his land when he didn't have an additional land because he needed exactly a red source to be able to stabilize, and then he was able to use that to actually, eventually take over the game. So, Sam knows how to get every single percentage point out of this deck.
Yeah, it was a great job by him. He remains undefeated. We've got more Magic coming up. We're going to be going into round 7 right after these messages.